Sorry, Senator, I'll make it quick, I promise.
Yes.
And we're back. It's 10 p.m. Chamorro Standard Time, and we're in with the Committee on Education, Public Safety, and the Arts. Our special education roundtable continues. We just had to reset the audio, and we're going to close out the roundtable hearing now. But before we do have one more bit of testimony here from Mr. Mark Mendiola.
Hey, Hoffa Senator, thank you very much. It's 10 p.m. Sat through this testimony. I heard it. It's very, there's a lot of things I know that has been said on this table, and I appreciate this roundtable discussion. I got involved, as a parent because my son is 19 years old, and he's autistic, and it was very tough, transitioning from elementary to middle to high school. And now he's 19 years old, he's functioning, independent living, he's able to, he's gainfully employed. And, the other day he asked me, Dad, I want to learn how to drive, But when he first got into the system, they said my son was nonverbal. He was not going to be able to communicate with me. And that was very tough, But I'm here because, he can't, it's a struggle, And when I ran for the Board of Education, I wanted to help kids like him that were marginalized. And there are very good people in the Department of Education, despite a lot of the challenges that we face. This is a community issue for everyone. I mean, hearing about, the interpreters and all these things that, the challenges that we face, I don't think it's insurmountable to address some of these issues. I know we have the right people in place, this department, and now I'm actively involved at Agata Johnston because I see the challenges with the schools, with the facilities. We mobilize people to come in, get help, supports. And now through this conversation, I think, even as a PTO president, I think we should have parent meetings for folks with, that have students with disabilities in the school so we can hear from them specifically and share with them the statistics and the data that's out there, because that's how we should be making decisions based on what the data says and how well we're doing. I recently filled out a survey, my wife and I filled out a survey from Ora Chalampago Elementary School asking the quality of education for my child. I think we should get a parent survey for those who are involved in special education. And for the last couple of days, I've been sitting at Agata Johnston Middle School, and I've been watching the students come through, assisting with them with some goals, and I see these children with disabilities coming with their one-to-one aids, and I see how they navigate. I kind of just watch, and see how they're interacting. And I don't want these kids to be marginalized. Eventually, they're going to pass on to adulthood, and we're going to start looking for services. I didn't know that I would probably have to apply for guardianship for my son because he's not able to understand legal documents and that transition. And I think, if anything, what they were mentioning earlier about, having services across the government, I think is important. And I think we need to close the gaps in all aspects of special education here in Guam. But I just got to say this, that, in my short time on the Board of Education and also in the Department of Education, 12 years in the system, I've met wonderful people across the board. I've met teachers that are very compassionate and caring and to try and meet the needs of our students. And I know these IEPs are individualized and they're set for certain students, their specific needs. And you can't standardize it because when you get in there, it's really intimidating. You have all these educators in there, and, I've gone through my education, but I'm pretty sure some of the parents that probably don't have that background, I had to become a subject matter expert in my child's disability to understand what types of things and services I could get. So I kind of flipped the question in IEPs. I said, I want you guys to advocate for my son because he cannot advocate for himself. So you tell me what services that you think he should be entitled to. And when that question came out, I even had to force the superintendent at the time to send the former associate superintendent of special ed to come to sit in my meeting because I felt we weren't getting the services. So I think with everything that's coming out tonight, I've worked with Tom before, I've worked with some of the parents that were here tonight, and I think it's just very important that we don't let this get swept. And look, we're here at 10 o'clock at night. This is just so important for me. I wasn't going to say anything, but I just had to say that, you know, as our kids transition and you see them out in our community, I don't want to see people marginalized because they've missed an opportunity in their formative years to get a good formal education. And if we have gaps that are identified, the real question that needs to be asked is what are we doing to fix it and address it, whether it be through the policy standpoint or whether it be through the human connection and the communication aspect of it. Because most of the stuff that I heard tonight is really about the communication. And so I'm going to try to be a conduit for that at the PTOs. I'm going to try and push and ask that the principal identify or ask the parents that do have special needs child that we set aside time for them to meet and maybe get resources from DOE to come in and say, these are some of the services that you are entitled to so that we can get them in and one group. And it's kind of like a support group because I think that's some of the challenges. When I was going through this, navigating through it, every parent talks to every parent about what services they're able to get, assistive technology, you know, all the stuff that is needed to function as a child. But I got to say this, though. You know, despite all the challenges we face in the Department of Education, we have the human aspect and the human component that is super important. We need to make these links from the Department of Education, Guam Community College, and the University of Guam. We need to start pushing and cranking out professionals in the field, and we need to make their salaries competitive. That's one of the toughest things. You can announce it, but if people don't apply, or there's roadblocks in there in terms of their applications and stuff like that, we need to figure out and ask why. And there was a parent talked about speech pathologists. I know one speech pathologist that basically, you know, just kind of got fed up a couple of years ago, many years ago, working with DOE. So she went out and she opened her own services. So I'm here to testify for my son because I think it's important that people know that you know, there are students out there and there are people out there that are marginalized and sometimes need extra help to get to the point where they are productive citizens in our community and not marginalized. I know 5 students that went to school with my son that are now working or they're continuing on with their education. Those are some of the successes. I mean, we heard a lot of challenges, but there are also some successes out there, and I don't want people to think that, you know, it's that gloom. Yes, we have a lot of challenges, and they're serious challenges. And tonight, I know a lot of copious notes were out there, and it's really about communication. I'm asking Mr. Babauta and the Department of Education, Judy Wampat, and the board to really wrap themselves around this and just come up with a real solid plan of action to address the concerns here this evening. Undunklin Sedus Masi, it's 10 whatever, and thank you very much, Senators. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mendiola. Senator Blas?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Mendiola, Mark, Tom, thank you very much. You know, and I hope tonight, again, you know, a lot of constructive ideas to be brought up, things that I'm sure that as colleagues, the 4 of us that are still remaining here, we've got a lot to talk about so we can help you. You know, at the end of the day, you're right. It's about the children. You know, a couple things I want to leave you with is just take a look at this, a hybrid of the wraparound service. You know, for the children. You know, not just the 8 hours, but how do we incorporate the 8 hours that were there with you, being GDOE, and the 16 hours that they're at home, so there's constant on this thing. And then, you know, the communication gap that exists, that's in the school. I understand the integration. Okay, I think it's a great thing. You know, I've seen the kids flourish, but at the same time, I've seen them, you know, try and struggle. And you know, teachers trying to help them, and there's not that communication. So if we can work on that too as well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Blas. Senator Lujan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gentlemen, and actually for all the folks who were here as well, thank you very much. I think we learned a lot tonight as well. But likewise, I think Mr. Mendiola hit it right solid when he said that you know, the individuals, as we heard tonight, it's not a standard way of learning, and there's that whole array, like autism is an array of spectrums from really slight to really severe. And I hope that you would again bring in Dr. Duenas to help in this field, and we want to work together to make it and make it work. It's for the kids. These are our future, and if we don't provide them that opportunity, Dr. Duane is not going to be here forever. And like you said, he has the means to be able to provide for his son, but most people don't. Most people don't. And with that being said, and he's offering services at this point, please include him, and because we see where that program helps a lot of people, and I'm sure the folks within DOE can learn a lot as well from what they have to offer. So I'm hoping again. I thought this was very fruitful tonight. I hope we can all walk away and say that we are one Guam and working together and making this happen. But thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lujan. Senator Kanata.
I just wanted to say thank you for all the family members that have continued to toe the line, most especially the ones that have the more indigent children. Again, disability, there's a big word in it as well, ability. And we need to acknowledge a lot of these individuals' ability to grow and help our island grow. And we need to acknowledge them so that we all can grow together. Again, I would like to applaud Ms. Maria Gutierrez for her testimony. Again, a lot of these issues haven't arisen overnight. They've been long-standing issues. We just need to figure out how to navigate and push ourselves together to push this agenda forward. I want to acknowledge Dr. Duenas for his contributions and sending us an email to advise for this roundtable. And I applaud the chair for calling it out and having us gather here this evening. Again, there's a lot of commitment between the families and friends that continue to toe the line in this specific spectrum. And I don't think, I think we really need to find more resources and get more committed to helping these individuals define their abilities and be more part of society so that we can be colorful together. I introduced not legislation, but a resolution to acknowledge the ACT community. One of my former coworkers, Evelyn Claros, I don't know how she does it, but she doesn't get paid, but she's a tireless advocate for a lot of the kids under the spectrum. And I want to acknowledge her for being a very involved parent. And frankly, these days it's very hard to find like you gotta award parents to be participating in children's lives these days. It's very sad. And I know Mr. Mark Mendiola has been a very committed parent, and like to say there's a lot of parents that don't really show up. And I don't think it's just because of ours, but parents really need to show up more for their kids and be a part of the change. Because we can all complain, we can keep drumming up the nastiness of failure, but if we cannot come together to the same table to work together, we'll never find solutions. The problems will be relevant forever. So again, I want to acknowledge the services that DOE continues to provide, Uncle Sam for the continuous funding that he provides, and it is definitely something you guys deserve. And I'm sure the chair, myself, Senator Perez, and the four amigos here that are still standing, we're going to work hard to deliver on our duties here and make sure that you guys' voices are heard loud and clear. I've also signed on resolution to call for Uncle Sam to recognize us in the SSI capacity. I think that would solve a lot of our issues that we face here as an island community. Again, we are Uncle Sam's tip of the spear. We need to be given that tip of the spear service as well. Although we have our differences with what we believe with Uncle Sam, I think those services can be very helpful for our people, our community, and our island. Again, thank you to all the teachers out there that continue to toe the line as well, the one-to-one aides that are sometimes not acknowledged, all the Special Olympics athletes, the ones who also work in ICANN resources, the ASL interpreters that continue to come out for us. I also wanted to thank my chair for acknowledging me, because as the oversight for DICIT, we need to make sure that everyone's able to understand what we discuss on the floor. Because I introduced legislation that acknowledges individuals who have issues understanding the text and the font. Some people are cracking jokes about me, like, who cares about the font? There's people, individuals, who cannot differentiate Times New Roman letter I and T, or L and I. But it's a reality. If the UN and the WHO recognizes it, then it's a situation we need to address. It's not a joke. It affects people's lives. So again, thank you for all you guys' hard work, and let's get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kanata. Mrs. G?
Yeah, Senators, I just want to make some clarification because I heard Mr. Babauta say that, you know, the education interpreter that will be at the job fair, it has been announced since 2018 when we created the position, because I happen to be the board chair committee when we created the education interpreter. We call in special ed and ask them who are doing the interpretation at the school interpreter. They said school aides. Okay, we're going to develop this job description. Are those employees, school aides, going to be able to qualify? They said yes. Lord and behold, when it was approved, only, where's that John, where she is? Qualified for the two, the rest, they said, oh, there's a problem with the job description, the qualification requirement. So it's still still being announced, so there's no reason to wait to April 2021 for the job fair. Hire it now, it's been a vacant position, so there's no reason that they should not leave the program coordinator aside and hire the education interpreter. There's federal funded, half is federal funds, half is local funding. The other thing regarding special ed teachers, okay? Yesterday, I receive a lot of texts from principals. Mrs. G, are we going to get the special ed teachers that we need at our school? I said, why? Oh, we got an email this morning from special ed. How many special ed teachers vacancies do you have? I'll tell you, a school, the principal better not be put on notice. 33 students, spec student, no special ed teachers other than the regular classroom teachers, because those two teachers were at that school were pulled downtown to the Tizan Tower. So another one said, I have 27 special ed students. I only have one special ed teacher. So if special ed doesn't know how many special ed teachers out there, and this is for school year 21, 22, 23. I was at the job fair, and I was going around and I asked principal, what are the positions you need? Chamorro teachers, special ed. I was approached. Mrs. G, I said, what? Please consider so-and-so to be head of DOE. He said, go do your job recruiting. So right now, if they don't know how many special ed teachers are missing at the school, then there's a problem. There's a problem. You know, but I just want to bring up about the education interpreter, because every budget year, and here's my former chair, we ask, what is the issue here? You have federal funds, you have local funds. So I just want to make that clear, okay? They don't have to wait to April 20 to
Go apply now.
Yep.
Thank you,
By tomorrow.
Mr. G. Mr. Babauta, did you want to close before I do?
Sure. Let me just address Mrs. Gutierrez first and foremost. So my response about the job fair was in response to you asking if they could apply at the job fair, and I said yes, they can come to the job fair and be there. I did also clarify that we do have one individual who has made the list, and we are working on getting an interview going, because typically they need more than one candidate, but we went ahead and said, let's go ahead and move forward. The other positions have been open, and there have been no candidates because we're not able to get them to qualify for the position based on the job description. So nobody's sitting on these positions waiting to hire, and if that's the way it came across, then I apologize. we will hire as soon as possible. In regards to the teachers, we have had the dashboard live for many months, but it's always in everyone's best interest for us to cross-check and make sure that the data is consistent and clear. So yes, we went to go cross-check all of our data points to make sure that we knew what was out there. And one thing I did not point out earlier was for the last 2 years, we've deployed people out of central office that were teachers, and we're not supposed to be doing any kind of supplanting, only supplementing. So we are trying to provide some assistance. We still have 2 teachers that are deployed out right now. When any institution is supposed to run, central office SPED is not in any jurisdiction does not provide the teachers for the district. Nobody's asking Deputy Joe where the teachers are and why is there a shortage, yet they're asking me why aren't we sending out those teachers. The teachers that are operating out of central office have been operating out of central office many, many moons before I got there. I have put my teachers on notice that I'm okay with them all becoming 12-month employees. That's what central office should be consisting of, 12-month employees. That was not a very popular decision when I put that out, but there's no way we can transition to that because I don't think we can afford that anymore. But I'm okay with not having teachers at central office, and that'll have, but we need to have that crosswalk over because all of the teachers that are at central office are providing critical IEP stipulated services and supports. So it's all based on the IEP. So this is where there's a big disconnect, and I believe that some of the board members don't really understand the SEA, LEA concept and what the responsibility of the division versus the school district is. So, and that's not for a debate here, but I just want to point out, that there's a lot of misunderstanding and misconceptions, and I've tried to reach out and provide some feedback and clarification, but clearly it's not getting across. So I just want to let the parents know we're listening. If you look at SPED today versus 2 years ago, I think you're gonna be able to see that it's a totally different animal now. We still have a long way to go, and clearly there's some old wounds in the community that continue to fester, and we're gonna address that. But we need to come together and we need to heal together, and then we need to move forward and look at filling all those gaps. But I'll leave it at that. I know everybody is getting hangry and tired.
I'm doing just fine, Mr. B. But
And that's just me. Just me.
I want to thank you for your attendance here. I mean, we're going on approaching 5 hours, so I definitely appreciate that. And also everybody who's come through to testify, the enormous amount of emails and social media comments that we received. And I agree with Mr. Mendiola. I think that what I found, and just from the time that I thought about having this hearing and talking to people about it, to announcing it, to coming to this evening, is that the special ed stakeholders just want to be heard. That's it, and my advice to the department would be to hear them. You know what I mean? It doesn't take much. Show up at a school, announce a schedule, do it quarterly, and you'll find that once you let these parents or these stakeholders tell their story, share their concerns, it also provides an avenue for you to be more surgical in how you respond to them, right?
Well, I was hoping that someone from ACT would come together. So when we had USDOE here in September, October, we had all the parent groups come together, and at that point I had approached the parent groups and asked if we could have an ongoing monthly meeting. Something like in the past they've had like coffee with a cop, that kind of concept. So that is something that I'm trying to establish those connections with the parent organizations and groups. And really it is about relationships with the administrators and with the schools. So, I mean, we're open to that. But first. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that would just be my advice. Is that what I felt was just frustration from people who felt like, for just different reasons that their concerns weren't being addressed. So Like I said, I don't think this is going to be the, well, it's the first SPED roundtable. It's definitely not going to be the last, but, you know, we've got almost 5 hours of testimony to take back. Oh, yes, Major Joe. Josephine Blas, if you don't mind, we're about to close, but of course I'll give you some time. Yeah. If you don't mind just identifying yourself for the record. Yeah.
Josephine Blas, I'm the president of the Autism Community. Oh.
Start over, ma'am.
They didn't teach us that.
Yeah,
But
it's a
anyway,
new one.
Josephine Blas, I'm the president of the Autism Community Together and a parent of a student at Inarajan Middle School.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Claros. I'm a parent with an adult with autism, and I've been in the system for quite some time. I am one of the founders of the Autism Community Together. I was the president for at least 12 years before we started passing the torch on. So I'm just a parent advocate. I've been with DOE Advisory Panel for at least almost 15 years of my life, or maybe 20. So, you know, I've been around, and so I can say that, you know, really hearing these parents' testimonies, I agree, the system is not perfect. But some of the concerns brought tonight, you know, bothers me, because some of these concerns about, you know, when we register our sons or daughters to go to a school, it's based on district. We don't have choice as parents. But I don't think it's a department or special ed's responsibility to ensure that every school is ADA compliant. It is a concern. I think the administrators should take ownership of that, and they have the deputies to report to and the superintendent. So I personally am bothered about that, to put it all on special ed. In fairness to the special ed division, it is not their entire responsibility. You know, the services, yes, I've come a long way in the system. I knew nothing, but again, as a parent like tonight, I make sacrifices to leave my son, to leave my family, to know what's out there in the community, how I can help my son. And today, I like Senator Canetta said, I volunteer to help advocate for, not for me, or it's for the child. It's not for the parent. I'm very straightforward with parents. You can ask, but there's some like 1-to-1 aid options. We don't have choice. It's what we get. What you need to do is to know your IEP, understand it, ask questions, and know that you can get some and you don't, but you can't get it all. So in fairness to the department, to the parents, you know, we need to know, we need to do our part. And our part is to be involved, to leave our home, to leave our comfort, because our sons or daughters don't have voices most of the time. And I'll tell you what, we are the voices. So we are here to help them. You know, so we cannot put the entire onus on the department. The department is challenged. And Mr. Babauta knows, you know, coming in as the Associate Superintendent for Education, I'm a high-profile parent. I've been labeled, but it doesn't bother me.
Are you a troublemaker too, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
Okay, wear with pride.
But you know, it's all about the child. We're all there for the child. I've advocated walk into IEPs. I don't know the parent. I've only met them once or twice to review the IEP. But just to give the kid that opportunity, the parent, the options to be aware what is out there for the child and what is in the best interest for the child. So, you know, I'm glad, like some of the systemic issues, I'm sorry. Prior superintendent has been there for 10 years. With all due respect, some of these issues have been there for a long time. So we cannot put it all on the current, leaders today. We have to own up to our responsibilities, right? So it's a community issue. It's a community challenge. Because if they don't tell what the challenge are, how would you know, right? So, yeah, with parents, we're here. Joe and I give so much of our time, our effort to, bring awareness to the community, to let parents know we're here, we can help you as much as we can. So I just thank you. But yes, when Tom said act, yes, we collaborate a lot.
You guys came
but I
running.
said, let's go. We got to go in there and talk to Tom.
Don't call anyone else out.
And as you know, Senator, I was with the National Guard.
Right.
So my son was born into the DODEA system, right? And so when I chose to retire, the first thing I was told was, okay, you're going to have to transition him to GDOE. I was terrified. I want to tell, honestly, going from DODEA, I didn't have to learn what an IEP was. I didn't have to advocate for anything. In fact, they taught me the system. So coming out into Guam DOE, I'm having to learn. I lean a lot on Evelyn, and honestly, however, the Guam DOE system has been great. I chose not to work because I want to learn this. I want to try to do something, to build something for our kids, because like Evelyn said, my son is nonverbal, so he doesn't have a voice. And that's what we're out here to advocate for. I mean, I was going to give testimony, but when I heard all the others, I was like, wow. The DOE is struggling, yes, but they're doing, I've seen the changes in just the last few years since my son has been attending school. When I went in for the first IEP meeting, I was pleasantly surprised, if you want to put it that way, because the school's doing their best. They came together as a team because I just told them, hey, I just want to work as a team because we're here for my child. We're not here for me. We're not here for them. We're here to try to build and develop my child so he can lead a productive life, we hope, right? Like Mr. Mendiola said, there's a lot of things my child will not do, so I'll probably have to advocate for him for the rest of our life, and that's what we do. And so thank you for holding this public hearing or this roundtable. And I know it's very late, and I appreciate what Tom does and the whole GDOE because they're doing their best. Yes, they need a lot more resources, but I think if we all work together, we can, come to a better understanding and a better future.
Just real quick, you give our kids the opportunity, and Mr. Babata can probably attest and hear through his colleagues. I was a very high-profile parent, but I did what I had to do to put my son where he is today. And to me, the team did their part. My son today works at GPD as a clerk, a data entry clerk. He only works 35 hours a week, but he's a government employee, and he's so good about coming to work on time, taking off at 12 o'clock for his lunch. 1 o'clock, he's right back to work, and he leaves at 4. And he doesn't do that alone. He has a job coach. And that's where I look forward to working with Senator Kanata to work with this, to ensure some of our kids will be able to work on their own, and some won't, and some will need a little help. So that little help makes a difference. He's paying taxes. He's not, I refuse to put him on SNAP or government aid. Why? Because he's a contributing member of the society, and he should get it when he needs it, not because he's an individual with disability who may be able to qualify because of the disability. So just some good points, for parents out there. You push and you get what you can, you do your best, and at least we can say we tried, right?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. What a great way to end it. And yeah, to me, the testimony of the parents tonight, at times was heartbreaking, but what I did see was their resilience and standing up for their kids. When you talk about parental involvement, parents of special needs children, they take it to a whole other level, mostly because they have no other choice, right? If they're trying to provide a great quality of life for their children, or fill in gaps where the government's falling short. So, that being said, Ms. Rabauta, again, thank you for sitting through this testimony. I'm pretty sure you've got a bunch of stuff to get to work on, so I appreciate that, and we'll be in touch. If there are no further questions or comments, I'd like to also recognize my colleagues who stuck it out. Bonus points. What did you call the four amigos? I think we're on to something here. So thank you again, Senator Blas, Senator Lujan, Senator Kanata, Senator Perez, for attending tonight. If there are no further questions or comments, this concludes the roundtable hearing. The committee will continue to accept written statements on today's hearing within 10 business days from today, which may be mailed to my office on the second floor of the Guam Congress building at 163 Chalan Topapa in Agatna. You may also send your statements to us at malafunk@guamlegislature.org. That's MALAFUNKSHUN@guamlegislature.org. Again, Silas Masi for your participation. This roundtable hearing is adjourned at 10:37 p.m. Chamorro Standard Time. Está, adios.